Did you guys know that the last game that the Bills lost to a non-AFC East opponent with Josh Allen as the starting quarterback was week 4 of last year against Green Bay? An ugly game for Josh and for the Bills alike all around. I believe they lost 22-0 or something like that. But that was the last time the Bills lost to a non-divisional opponent with Josh Allen starting and finishing that game. The one game that obviously comes into question there would be Houston last year, the game that Josh got hurt. He obviously didn't finish. He left while they were trailing. Peterman came in and actually threw a lead. They took the lead with a touchdown pass, and then he threw the game-ending pick 6. Standard. Anyway, if you want to hold that against him, you can. I'm just pointing that out, and I like to point out things like this. I like to look things up. You can follow me on Twitter. I usually say this at the end of the video, but follow me on Twitter. My YouTube username and Twitter handle are the same. I try to talk to everybody. I try to talk Bills. I talk other sports as well, and I try to find little interesting tidbits such as that might interest you. Anyway, by now you know the Bills are 5-1. Although you might not know it by some fan reaction on Twitter or on local sports radio shows or what have you, because they didn't beat the Dolphins by enough apparently. Oh no, we didn't win by enough. I mean, they don't look back at margin of victory. Is it even a tiebreaker? I have no clue. I genuinely have no idea if margin of victory is even a tiebreaker. Why would it be? I mean, it might be like the 12th tiebreaker on something, but like, who cares? They don't look back at these games and be like, well, there's no like BCS, like computer looking into it, and you're not a playoff team because you didn't beat Miami by enough. Like, that's a thing that probably comes into play in college football, which is kind of stupid, which is probably why they should just expand the playoff system. But, that's neither here nor there at this point. I mean, win by any means. I don't care how much you win by. It definitely wasn't pretty. We'll talk about it in a second. But ultimately, all that matters is that you won the game. They're 5-1. The next closest team in the wild card spot has 3 losses. So the Bills are 2 up on the 6th place team in the wild card, and then I guess subsequently the 7th place team. So they're 2 games up in the wild card. They would thus have to be passed by 3 games by 2 of those teams, by 2 of them. So 2 teams have to be 3 games better than the Bills the rest of the way. And the Bills at 5-1, I mean, even if you go, you're 5-1, even if you go 500 from here on out, you're 10-6. And that probably gets you in with all these teams already at, 4-3 or what have you. So there's good reason to be optimistic. You don't have to, are you looking back on Miami at the end, even if, let's say the Bills skid. Let's say they skid to 9-7, miss the playoffs. Are you looking back at this game as like your premonition? Like, I knew when they only beat Miami by 10. I'm never thinking about it. I'm probably never thinking about this game again. What's the number one thing you would remember from this game? Micah Hyde jumping 1,000,000 feet in the air and returning an onside kick for a touchdown? An onside kick return for a touchdown might be the only thing you remember about this game. Or the fact that they were losing, in the first half at halftime. Although I thought, to be honest with you, I didn't think they played too terribly at halftime. I was still relatively confident at halftime that the Bills would win the game. It was frustrating to see that they were losing 14-9. They had put together more scoring drives. They had just kicked 3 field goals versus Miami's 2 touchdowns. And I wasn't happy to see Miami kind of walk the Bills down the field a couple of times. That was frustrating. They did get a couple of calls, and the roughing the passer call might have been in the 3rd quarter. I believe that it was. On Shaq Lawson, I didn't like that. Other than that, Fitz, man. What is it with that guy? Why doesn't he just go down? Like the number one problem I had with the Bills there really was getting home to Fitzpatrick. Like, it felt like they got there, they just could not grab him. And even on his late touchdown run, Jerry Hughes had him by like the neck, by the jersey, and couldn't rip him down. Like, this is Ryan Fitzpatrick we're talking about. This is not Cam Newton. And what's funny about that is, like, the last time the Bills played Cam Newton, they sacked him like 6 or 8 times or something like that. Like, Jerry Hughes was getting there with ease and bringing him down. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, a little too slippery, it's kind of hysterical to me. But I was impressed by the Bills. You know, they had to come back. They did come back. I will admit, I was gonna get to this just a minute ago. I was nervous because I mentioned that I was confident throughout the game that the Bills would still win the game. I was nervous when Miami got the ball to start the third quarter and started walking them down the field. And they got that penalty call, and I'm like, oh my God, is this really going to happen? Are we about to be down 21-9 at home? And they took almost 10 minutes off the clock in the third quarter. And then Trey White comes up with, the turning point play of the game with that interception. And then the Bills go 98 yards downfield and score a touchdown to take the lead. So, and which they would never look back on because they got a turnover on the following Miami possession. Cole Beasley gets his first as a Bill, 10-point lead, blink of an eye. And that's what bad teams do. And that's what good teams do. And bad teams, I mean the Dolphins. By good teams, maybe the Bills. Good teams will not have it every week. They won't have it in every aspect, but no matter what the situation is, they come out on top. That's just what you do. They didn't do it against a really good team in New England, but they did it this week. And that is sort of I've harped on it a little bit. The Bills have sort of played to the level of their opponent, and I don't really like that. My last week, I was just thinking, guys, make it look easy. It should be easy. This is Miami. They're historically bad. Just make it look easy. And it was anything but. But they got it done. They win. I'm trying to, I may sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit just from the standpoint that I'm like, win by any means. But last week I was like, please make it look easy. That was just kind of what I was hoping to see from the game. It did not end up working out that way. However, the fact that they won, got a conference win, a division win, these are the most important things. So they're 5-1. They have a home game this week against the Eagles, who, oh my God, are suddenly super bad. Okay, super bad may be a bit of a stretch, but we're going to talk about the Eagles. Eagles fans, maybe you can weigh in on this with me, because I want to know what the heck is going on. I know that they have a ton of injuries, and it looks like a bunch of those guys might not even play this week. I got a list of them right here. Let's see. It was Deshaun Jackson, who they've completely botched that situation. They could have put him on IR and brought him back after week 1 or something like that, and they've just let him sit on the roster, taking up roster spots, while they're getting zero production from their wide receivers, from top to bottom almost. And I got some pretty good numbers on that. Jason Peters doesn't look like he's going to play, so Andre Dillard might be in there in his stead. Nigel Bradham doesn't look good. Avonte Maddox really doesn't look good. Timmy Jernigan doesn't really look good. Darren Sproles probably not. Hassan Ridgway's on IR. They just cut Orlando Scandrick, their cornerback, who played. He was kind of on a fill-in for them, but they cut him. Akeem Spencer's defensive tackle that they just cut again. And then who do they have at defensive tackle? They had Malik Jackson, he went on IR. They had Ridgway, he's now on IR. They had Spence, they cut him. So they bring up this guy from the practice squad or something, Anthony Rush. I don't know much about him. Maybe he's a good player. Maybe you guys are eager to see him. I know nothing. I know nothing about him. I know nothing about their secondary other than the players that are in it. It's they just cut. I just mentioned his name, Orlando Scandrick. So they have Sidney Jones and is it Rasul Douglas, and obviously Ronald Darby, who was dressed. Was he dressed last? What's going on with Darby, Eagles fans? Was he dressed last week and just didn't play? I know that he was fighting an injury, but he didn't play. It was weird. So Rasul Douglas and Jalen Mills came back, made a nice interception last week. And Sidney Jones is healthy and playing, not playing. So I don't understand what the heck they're doing defensively. And they're bad on defense because of it. They haven't allowed less than 24 points all season except to Luke Falk. And they allowed 24 once to Atlanta and lost. They've allowed 27, 24, 27, 27, 6 to Luke Falk. And then 75 points over the past 2 weeks, including 859 yards of offense and 49 first downs to Minnesota and Dallas. Jeez. What are they on defense? They're 18th in yards on defense, probably only because they allowed 128 to the Jets in Week 5. Like, I mean, you can take a team's best game away, and it'll obviously affect their rankings. But like, holy smokes, like that's flat out bad. Like, and they're getting killed in the secondary. The secondary that I said they have no idea what's going on with them. Like, Diggs is killing them, Cooper's killing them, Devontae Adams killing them, Julio Jones killing them, Terry McLaurin killing them. Like, what are they doing? And I didn't even talk about the offense yet. I didn't even talk about it. Let's talk about the offense. Carson Wentz is the only thing to me holding this team together. And granted, he's only averaging like 235 yards passing a game, 13 touchdowns to go along with 4 picks. But like, I think he's kind of carrying them to a point. He's just getting no help from the wide receivers, who are absolutely terrible. Here's some crazy wide receiver stats. Their last 4 games, Alshon, 21 catches, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, not very impressive. 50 yards a game, 5 for 50 a game, half a touchdown. And they're 2-2. They somehow beat Green Bay, which was one of their best wins. I thought it was like, oh, this is the Eagles team. Then they stomp on the Jets, they're 3-2. And then they come back against Minnesota and Dallas, and they're just plummeting. Like, Nelson Aguilar, Alligator Arms Aguilar, like 230 snaps. This is the maximum amount of snaps. Jeffrey Aguilar played them all. Aguilar, 7 catches, 86 yards, and a fumble lost. That's terrible. Mac Hollins, 139 snaps, 1 catch for 13 yards. Arcega-Whiteside, why'd you even draft him? 25 snaps. Like, they need a receiver more than they need anything else, I think. Like, this is just, it's putrid. Oh, Miles Sanders over the last 4 games has disappeared, like, or 3 games maybe. 18 carries for 42 yards. Like, this is, like, inexplicable. This is, like, coming off of pretty good performances against, you know, Green Bay and Detroit beforehand. And then the last 3 games, they were actually pretty quiet against the Jets, but they didn't have to do much because Luke Falk wasn't threatening them. But, like, they have been flat out embarrassed. 75-30 over the last 2 games on the road against Minnesota and Dallas. And so a lot of the fans are thinking maybe that, the Eagles fans are thinking maybe that, like, this is about to rupture. Like, the levee is about to break here on the Philadelphia Eagles season. And you might be right, but there's 2 ways of thinking that can go. Like, I mean, clearly the locker room looks broken. You know, they're pointing the fingers at each other like, oh, who is this? Or who's the anonymous source leaking information or saying things to the media anonymously and whatnot. And the offensive coordinator seems clueless. He's saying that Aguilar's effort shouldn't be questioned, but, like, look, open your stupid eyes. Like, they're just, like, I mean, how can I pick the Eagles to win after this? After I've trashed them for like 5 minutes. I just don't understand. But like I said, there's 2 ways of thinking that. Like, they could bounce back from that. They could use this as like some sort of bonding thing. I don't know, teams like to say that, oh, you know, we rallied together, we came together, we had a players-only meeting or whatever, and whatever. But this is a game it's there for the Bills. I mean, the way the receivers have killed the Eagles lately, John Brown is capable of doing that. Cole Beasley, obviously very capable of doing that, very familiar with the Eagles. You know, I suppose, what are the Eagles against the run? They're 6th against the run, 27th against the pass. But, you know, I guess I can't come this, like, I maybe even started this video thinking that I could pick the Eagles to have that type of bounce-back game, but I don't think I can even do that. Now, I do think it'll be close because the Bills play pretty much, like I said, to the level of their competition. They haven't shown that they're good enough to blow anybody out. They have shown that they're good enough to not get blown out. So they're favored by 1.5. They're 9-1. I guess they're 9-1 is 9-1 straight as favorites under Sean McDermott. So I'm gonna pick them to win. I'm gonna pick them to beat the Eagles. 26-24. How about that? Covering the spread. Beautiful. I think there's opportunities there for Gore and Singletary, and obviously for John Brown and Beasley. So and maybe even for Foster or Duke Williams if he plays. Hopefully Matt Milano's back, because I thought the Dolphins did a pretty good job of attacking Milano's absence this past week, and hopefully that's not something that the Eagles will do as well. Anyway, guys, thank you for coming this far in the video. Obviously, hit me up on Twitter. As I said earlier, my YouTube username and Twitter handle are the same. Enjoy your weekend. Above all else, go 6-1. 6-1. Bills.